Hey everybody, it's your boy Marcus Norman from Gentleman Style Podcast, your host of the number one podcast coming to you live in America. This is the interview you all have been waiting for. I've been waiting for, and I'm absolutely excited for this interview. I can't wait to bring this gentleman to the stage. So we're going to just dive right in, and here we go. Hey everybody, it's your boy Marcus Norman from Gentleman Style Podcast, your host of the number one podcast coming to you live in America. And today we have the incredible Mr. Steve Anderson. He is an expert in strategic risk and business growth. Drawing on decades of experience in the insurance industry, he wrote the Bezos Letters, 14 principles to grow your business like Amazon, which has become a Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and international bestseller. With hundreds of thousands of followers, Mr. Steve has been handpicked by LinkedIn as one of the world's most influential thought leaders known today. And he is here today with us on the Gentleman Style Podcast stage. Please help me introduce Mr. Steve Anderson. Yeah!
Hello, Marcus.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us on Gentleman Style Podcast stage. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us and be with us today and give back. Sir, thank you.
My pleasure. It's great to be here with you. I've always liked talking about the book and hopefully some ideas that will help people in their business and their life.
Absolutely. I know it is. I am excited today. So, sir, diving right in, why is Bezos the master of risk, and how to know when you're taking too much or not enough from your business?
Yeah, that was a question I started asking several years ago. And just a little background, I've come out of the insurance industry for the last 26 years. I've been helping primarily insurance agents and brokers with technology, right? And we all know how fast it's developing now, faster now than it ever seems like before. And I started thinking about how fast that was happening, and if the biggest risk a business faces is actually not taking enough risk, which coming out of the industry, right, is a bit weird to think of it that way, because insurance is all about reducing risk. And I'm saying, okay, maybe we should have some more. Well, as I started exploring that concept and looking at companies that had done it well, right, and those that hadn't, those are sort of easy, right? BlackBerry, Blockbuster, Sears now, I mean, a bunch of different companies that just haven't made transitions successfully. I also looked at companies that had, and Amazon certainly was on that list. And I started researching why has Amazon been so successful, and came across the letters that Jeff Bezos started writing in 1997 and has written every year since. And read one letter, read a couple letters, and literally sat down over a couple of days and read every single letter at the time straight through. And I was really astounded at how much information and advice he gave on how he grew Amazon. And that became, right, the book that I was able to publish.
That makes sense. And so you notice the trend, you notice the growing trend, and you notice where Jeff Bezos has now taken his company to, I think, over $1 billion trillion now.
Trillion and a half, give or take a little bit there.
Who's counting, right? Who's counting?
Right.
So that's amazing. And so in your studies, in your research, why is it crucial that you become a customer obsessed business and not just a customer focused business?
Yeah, so in that study, and really the book is grouped in 14 principles, as you said in the subtitle, and those principles are grouped into 4 cycles: test, build, accelerate, and scale. And I believe every business, regardless of a brand new startup, and maybe it's just yourself, to larger businesses with maybe hundreds of employees, always are going through those different cycles. And at Amazon, one of those principles is I call obsess over customers. And it's a core principle at Amazon. And I think, we have to be careful not to just go, oh yeah, I know customers are important, but a lot of companies, focus on customers, have great customer experience, want to have a good customer journey. But at Amazon, they take it to a different level when they start talking about obsessing over customers. And that's the twist, I think, that's different. And if you look at Amazon's growth, one of the key factors is, and this is a phrase Bezos uses a lot, we invent on behalf of the customer. And so they're always looking for ways to enhance the experience and to reduce the friction of dealing with Amazon. So I ask people all the time, why do you shop on Amazon? And I assume a lot of people do. Not everybody, I get that, but why? And almost always the answer is, it's easy. Yeah, me too. Yeah. It's easy, right? And Amazon has spent billions of dollars to make it easy. And that obsession is part of their focus. And the other way he describes it is we are customer obsessed, not competitor focused. So they don't actually really care about competitors. They pay attention like they should, but it's not, what are my competitors doing? It's, what are we doing on behalf of the customer? And what are we inventing that's new? And competitors, if you really watch the news, are focused on Amazon, not their customers. Amazon's focused on their customers first, and maybe they think about competitors. So again, those are just some core principles that they've applied really over the last, 27, almost 30 years now.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And so can these 14 principles, I almost said laws. I can call them laws, right? 14 principles. Can they be applied to any business? Are they applicable, or are they specifically focused on maybe an e-commerce business, or can they work for all?
Well, I'm convinced they can work for all, whether it's e-commerce or traditional retail or restaurant, and in fact, we had one review on Amazon of the book, and it was not a 5-star review. I'll say that. I think it was 1 star, and the person said, I have a ice cream store, ice cream business, and I don't see how this applies to me. Well, and I wanted to write back and kind of go, okay, let's think about some of those principles, right? Principle number 1 is encourage successful failure. Dynamic invention and innovation, customer obsession, making complexity simple. These are all principles that, regardless of what you're selling, could apply to your business. Like dynamic invention and innovation. So in an ice cream store, what could you do differently that every other ice cream store isn't doing? Now, I'm not sure I know what those answers are, but those are the questions I'd be asking. How can you improve the customer experience? And certainly, standard stuff there that we, samples, but could you take that up another level, and what might that be? And focusing on that customer and having that experience even that much more special.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. We are going to go to a quick commercial break, but I see your guys' questions. They're coming in. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We have to pay some bills, y'all. We'll be right back. See you guys soon. Good day, podcast listeners. This is your boy, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I wanted to let you guys know that we will be rolling out a new feature and adding a join sponsor button next to the subscriber button here at the bottom of your screen. Once you click the button, it will display 3 membership levels. Gentleman Gentry, which is our entry level. Duke Duchess, which is our season level, and the Emperor and Empress, which is our most sophisticated level, which you will receive unique perks and benefits at each differing level and gain access to our community tab. We will also be sharing polls, upcoming events, and interviews, as well as receive feedback from our sponsors directly. Your support helps me find new and exciting guests to bring to the stage live. Well, in order to get the higher end speakers, it requires, well, some, you guessed it, money. So thank you for tuning in to my channel. And if becoming a sponsor sounds good to you, then select the join button below and choose your desired sponsor level. Let's continue to grow and serve the future of generations of men and women to come. Love you guys. Bye. Hey everybody, we are back. We have the incredible, amazing Mr. Steve Anderson, author, entrepreneur of the Bezos Letters, and he is here to break down some of the secrets in his book. And so this is phenomenal. We had a question earlier, right before we took off on a commercial break, and so Mr. Anderson just broke down some applications of his book and that how they can apply to almost any business once you break down these 14 principles and 14 laws. Now we have a question from the audience. Miss Hightower asks, can Mr. Anderson give an example of how the customer is the focus and what might we recognize as an improvement?
So let me, great question. And let me give an example from Amazon, maybe a couple quick ones just to get your mind thinking. The Kindle, right, e-reader was announced by Amazon in 2007. They spent 3 years prior to that developing it. And actually Bezos talks about that in the 2007 letter to shareholders. And what he says is, we had the audacious goal of reinventing the book, something that has been around in its basically same format for 500 years. And we understood that we have to do something meaningfully different about the book. You know, just moving it to electronic wasn't quite enough. And we had to think about it. And what we realized is that when you read a book, actually the book disappears. And certainly if it's a good author, right, you're in the world, in whatever it is that you're reading, be that Harry Potter or, you know, pick your favorite, you know, mystery novel, whatever, and the book fades away. But they didn't stop there. All right, so they rethought what a book could look like. But they also then added to the book. You can take notes. You can highlight those passages, which I prefer now electronic because I can highlight those quotes and notes, and they're stored online, so I can go in and access them and pull them into Evernote or, you know, copy and paste them or do any of those kinds of things. So that's the idea of obsessing over the customer, right? What can we improve for the customer? Another quick example is, and one of my principles is make complexity simple. And I actually can tell you exactly where I came up with that wording for that principle. I was in my car listening to NPR, and this was a few years ago, just after Amazon purchased a company called PillPack. And it was a pharmacy company that specialized in people who had multiple medications to take and different times of the day. And so they packaged all those medications into one pack for morning, noon, evening. So you didn't have to count out your pills. My wife does that all the time, right, with the little boxes and stuff. This day, this morning, this evening. But they did it as a service. And so the CEO of one of the large drugstore chains was on there, and he basically said, you know, we're not worried about Amazon getting into the pharmacy business because it's more complex than they realize. And I literally in the car said out loud, that's what Amazon does, is make complexity simple. Let me give you another one real quick. Amazon has been moving into the physical retail store world. And again, they didn't do it until they could figure out how to be meaningfully different than other retail stores. So their first version was the Amazon bookstore, and I won't go into great detail, but very different experience. If you ever have a chance to walk into one, it's good to see. Another one that I think is fascinating is their Amazon Go store, Go. And again, not a lot of them yet, but they're building them out. And they created what they call just walk out shopping. And what that means is you go in, you scan the Amazon app to get into the store, and then the store tracks you. Cameras, sensors, and you start pulling things off the shelf, putting it in your basket, and you literally just walk out. Because what Amazon realized is the worst experience at a retail store is checking out. Even the self-checkout at the grocery stores, I hate, because they're never quite right? But it doesn't matter because you're being tracked. Now, people might think that's weird, and I understand that too. But the technology of simplifying that shopping experience is amazing, and all of it started because of an extreme focus on the customer. What could the Amazon do to improve the experience of shopping in a physical store?
Very well thought out. Very well thought out. I hope that answered your question, Miss Hightower. That definitely answered mine. And that's unique, right? When I saw the news, I think when the new world saw the news on Amazon Go Store and the automatic checkout feature where you just pick up what you want and the scanners and the systems, it's a new world. We are in a new world, and businesses are gonna have to catch up. And so your book teaches these principles, and just like you said earlier, they can be applied to any business. That's major. That's huge. Making complexity simple and focusing solely on the customer. It's no longer about the competition. Get away from the competition. That's what I heard, and that's what I'm learning from this experience. Mr.
Yeah.
Go
Let me
ahead.
also say one more quick thing on that, and the way I phrase it, think about, regardless of what your business is, think about how can you take friction away from the customer's interaction with you. And sometimes as business owners, we just go, well, that's just the way it is. Well, at Amazon, they don't stop there. They go, how can we improve it? And they may spend years trying to do it. But again, the goal is always focus on the customer first and making it easier and simple.
Improving the customer experience. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Mr. Anderson, what are the four key growth cycles that every successful company is always intentionally moving through? And what have you seen in your experience?
Well, I mentioned those a little bit earlier, but the cycles are test, right? So we're testing a new product, a new service, a new platform, a new way of interacting with customers, and we're figuring out what works and doesn't work. And that first principle I mentioned, encourage successful failure, is really important in this area, because at Amazon, experimentation is the foundation to invention. And failure and experimentation go hand in hand. Bezos understood the fact that if you're not experimenting, you're not pushing for far enough and fast enough. But if you're experimenting, that also means you're going to fail. And so failure at Amazon's not a career killer. And I think that's a key difference for a lot of businesses, especially bigger ones that kind of get, in set in their ways, et cetera. In fact, one of the phrases I use is that the biggest risk a business takes and the biggest problem they face is their success, because they tend to get complacent and say, we were successful, therefore we don't have to continue to experiment, change, fail, try something new. We can rest on our laurels. And the moment you do that, you're in trouble. So that whole idea of successful failure, and again, quick example, Amazon has had lots and lots of failures. I think probably their biggest one was their Fire phone. Now, most people don't even remember that Amazon actually created and released a phone. It was 2014, and honestly, at that time, I don't really know what they were thinking. And this was Jeff Bezos' pet project, right? He thought this would be great, but we already had an iPhone, we already had Android phones. We didn't need another phone that made shopping on Amazon a little easier. And at one point after the announcement, they took the price of the phone to 99 cents, and they couldn't give it away. At the end of 2014, they wrote off in development and inventory costs $178 million. Wow. Failure. What was the success? Yeah, ouch, exactly. But where'd the success come out of that? 4 months after Bezos announced the phone, he got his first demonstration from their hardware team of a cylinder that would sit on a table that you could talk to, and it would answer your questions. What we would come to know as the Echo hardware, along with Alexa, the machine learning software that made it work. I think we can agree that has been a great success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now it's worldwide, it's well known, and the Alexa and now everyone is following the trend, right? Google
Yeah.
is following the trend.
Yeah, and I just have to demonstrate, I experiment with a lot of things myself too. So these are actually Alexa frames or Echo frames. So there's little speakers next to my ear, and I can talk to Alexa, ask questions as I'm walking around. I think they're a little dorky looking, but you got to experiment and see, well, maybe it'll work or not. But so
Sure.
again, they're always experimenting and testing, trying things, putting it out there, getting feedback. They may kill this and it may not go any further, or they may add it to their line of products they make available.
Incredible. Absolutely, absolutely. We have one more quick commercial break, y'all. Stay tuned. We have the incredible Mr. Steve Anderson changing our mindset. That's where it all begins. Mindset. Shift the focus and shift the attention. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
I'm Marcus Norman, bringing fresh vibes to hot topics surrounding culture, relationships, business, finance, sex, dating, faith, and everything in between. Whether you're into passive income opportunities, trending topics and useful relationship tips, or dynamic guest speakers, there's something for everyone. You can expect all that and more every week. If you're down with this content, then consider joining our growing community by subscribing to Gentleman Style Podcast and smash the bell to get on our VIP list. Your support means the world. Thanks for watching. Link to my channel.
Hey everybody, if you're just tuning in, we have the incredible Mr. Steve Anderson, CEO, author, entrepreneur, and extraordinaire of the Bezos Letter. I couldn't think of the word. There was no word, probably hadn't even been invented yet, that could be used right now. And so, listen, this man is absolutely amazing. He's the author of the Bezos Letter, world renowned and best known for the 14 principles, and I call them laws, of what Jeff Bezos put out in his words to his founders and CEOs and board members of how to do, in my belief, better business and how to survive and thrive. And this is what every business, Mr. Anderson just explained earlier, what every business can incorporate either some or all of these strategies in your business to do better business. And it's becoming overwhelmingly customer focused and focusing on the letters. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Thank you for coming to the stage. This is major, sir. Can you explain to us what is the flywheel principle and why is that Amazon's secret growth weapon?
So the flywheel, and again, it's in the build cycle, and it's called Understanding Your Flywheel. And it comes from Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. So the book was released in the fall of 2001. It's chapter 8. The chapter is called The Flywheel and the Doom Loop. What's important for that, one, it's a great book, been around a long time. It's probably sitting on your shelf somewhere if you've been in business or been a reader of business books. Go back and just pull it off the shelf, look at that one chapter. But here's how it impacted Amazon. Before that book was published, Bezos invited Jim Collins to a retreat of senior leaders at Amazon. And he spent a full day just talking about the flywheel. And the flywheel concept is, well, you think about a flywheel, right? It's usually a huge, big piece of metal, really heavy. You see them in factories all the time. It takes a lot of effort to get it going. But once you get that momentum going, then things just keep working. And so the flywheel concept is, what's the core thing that you want to do in your business? Well, during that day-long retreat, those senior leaders, they actually sketch out Amazon's flywheel. And at the core of that was growth. But the outside forces pushing that flywheel and keeping it spinning were several things. One of their key goals at Amazon is to have low prices, wide selection, and fast delivery. And the more people they could bring to their website, the more they could focus on all of that. Low prices, why? The more people that came to the website, the more leverage they'd have with manufacturers to get better pricing. And then the more leverage they'd have with shippers to get that stuff to those people in 2 days or less with Prime, right? Crazy idea, by the way, when it came out. And so that idea, in fact, Bezos thought it was so important to Amazon that he literally banned anybody from talking about their flywheel outside the company because he thought it was their secret sauce. And if you look today, in fact, there's a picture on Amazon's website on their investor relationships page, about that picture and how they drew it out. And if you look today, they're still following that flywheel and almost everything that they do.
So one of my final questions, and this was kind of scary for me because we just got out of recession. 2020 was a dumpster fire, right? So the stock market's up and down, real estate's up, Robinhood shut the account down. The economy is in a weird place right now. And as an investor, if you are a stockholder in Amazon, one of the most scariest things that happened was Jeff Bezos actually he didn't step down, but he stepped to the side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that made
Yep.
a lot of investors, a lot of people nervous as to the security of Amazon. So can you tell us, or can you speak to the strategy or the thought process of why he became I think he became a board member and he's no longer the CEO and he's letting someone else run the company?
Yeah, so what happened is he announced that he was stepping aside, not down, not retiring, stepping aside into the executive chairman of the board role. And then a new CEO of Amazon, who's Andy Jassy, who was the CEO of Amazon Web Services and has overseen that business for many years, is stepping in after Bezos. And, they've been close confidants for a long time. My view on that is a couple things. One is, I think Bezos intuitively understands that there's no success without succession, meaning, he could probably stay in that CEO position for a long time, and he has other things he wants to do. My view of it is his sweet spot is 3 to 5 years out, looking ahead, helping plan what's next for Amazon for new business. I mean, he's got his Blue Origin space company, which he calls his most important work. Now he'll be freed up from CEO. And I think probably what happened is in a year ago, right now, about now when we're recording this in March of 2020, he kind of got pulled back into Amazon because they were struggling along with others in terms of, they had influx of orders as people were locked down and ordering online and shipping, and so there were a lot of logistics problems. And Amazon knows how to scale because they do it every Christmas, but this was a off time even for them. And I think he realized, I can do that. I built this company and I want to do other things. So let me bring some other people in. My speculation, I don't know that for sure. And I think what we will see is even more out of Amazon if that's possible, given his talent at looking into the future and seeing what might be possible, and a solid core of senior leadership that can make the company run really well.
I'm nervous. I would be nervous. Yeah, I would be nervous stepping into such big shoes, right? From a book company to now almost touching every industry, every facet of business, branching off to now, having Amazon Prime, having a delivery service, having a trucking side of things. I would be very nervous right now. He has some very large shoes to fill. I'm sure he's capable. Like you said, most people don't think about the laws of succession and
Right.
stepping down from their company. People don't think that far, but it's so true. We're not going to be around here forever, and so who are we training for the future?
Well, and I think one of the key thoughts of Bezos that I, again, is core, and it is one of my principles, but he is a long-term thinker. So I think he's been thinking about this for a while. And here's just one quick example of what I mean by that. In the 1997, the very first shareholder letter, he said, we're building something at Amazon that we can tell our grandchildren about. They were only like 5 years old at that point. And he's thinking grandchildren and generations in the future. In fact, he wants to be a good ancestor, meaning multiple generations in the future. He wants people to be able to look back and said, hey, that Bezos, he really did something to help move things along. So we'll see, right? But long-term thinking is one of his core abilities that I think this is an example of.
Absolutely. 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 Sir, how can my audience connect with you? How can we grow with you? How can we support you and learn from you and all your expertise?
Thank you. So the website with a lot of information about the book is thebezosletters.com. It's up there on the screen. So go there if you want to read the book. Be sure to go there because I have a workbook and some other material to help you with each of these principles, get a better understanding of how they might apply in your own situation. And the other thing I will say is I've started fairly recently a live Facebook once a month where I am going through the various principles. I did some overviews and then going deep into each of the principles. I don't know the date for next month, but that information will be on the bezosletters.com also.
Absolutely, y'all. So stay connected. The link is in the bio. That's thebezosletters.com. If you're interested in connecting, stay connected and stay tuned as this is not the end. We are in store for so much more. Mr. Anderson, thank you, sir. Thank you for giving back in this way. I appreciate you taking time, sir, out of your busy schedule.
Oh, my pleasure, Marcus. Thanks for having me on the show.
Applause. Give him one more applause. This man is incredible. Absolutely incredible. He's giving back. And I appreciate him absolutely, sir. So hope we can get him back on, grow with you, stay connected with you in the future, and look forward to get you on the show in the future.
It'd be my pleasure.
Absolutely. And thank you all for tuning into the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Thank you for taking time out of you guys' day. I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope this served you. I hope this helps because this helps me, and I want to share Mr. Anderson with the world, because he absolutely needs to get out. This information needs to get out. And so, like I always end every show, take care of your families, take care of your friends, and take care of business. This is Marcus Norman, a Gentleman Style Podcast Show, signing off. Love you guys. Bye.